early LDS Church leaders who understood from statements made by Joseph Smith on a number of occasions that the Constitution would be in trouble. First of all, from an address delivered on the 4th of July in 1854 by Brigham Young in the Salt Lake Tabernacle. Quote, "Will the Constitution be destroyed? No, it will be held inviolate by this people. And as Joseph Smith said, the time will come when the destiny of the nation will hang upon a single thread. At that critical juncture, this people will step forth and save it from the threat and destruction. It will be so." Brigham Young in the Tabernacle, 1868, quote, "Every organization of our government, the best government in the world, is crumbling to pieces. Those who have it in their hands are the ones who are destroying it. How long will it be before the words of the prophet Joseph Smith will be fulfilled? He said if the Constitution of the United States were saved at all, it must be done by this people. It will not be many years before these words come to pass." John Taylor, quote, "By and by you will find they will tear the Constitution to shreds, as they have begun now. They won't have to begin. They have started long ago to rend the Constitution of our country in pieces, and in doing so, they are letting loose and encouraging a principle which will react upon themselves with terrible consequences. For if lawmakers and administrators can afford to trample upon justice, equity, and the Constitution of this country, they will find thousands and tens of thousands who are willing to follow in their wake in the demolition of the rights of man and the destruction of all principles of justice and the safeguards of the nation." Close quote. By Orson Hyde, 1858 in the Tabernacle, quote, "Now in relation to the Constitution of the United States, I want to speak a few words. There is a great deal of sacredness attached to the Constitution. It is said that Brother Joseph in his lifetime declared that the elders of this church should step forth at a particular time when the Constitution should be in danger and rescue it and save it. This may be so, but I do not recollect that he said exactly so. I believe he said something like this, that the time would come when the Constitution and the country would be in danger of an overthrow, and said he, if the Constitution be saved at all, it will be by the elders of this church." Close quote. What do you think? Is the Constitution dangling by a thread? That is something that is stated over and over and over in the Journal of Discourses by a number of different people, and it ultimately goes back to a statement that Joseph Smith made about the Constitution hanging by a thread.
Another book that has a lot of these quotes gathered together is Gerald M. Lund's book, The Coming of the Lord. And I'd like to show you how that I think that this prophecy is in their way of being fulfilled.
Okay.
This comes from a book by John Robertson. This was published in 1798. Proofs of a Conspiracy. And he basically shows that there was an order, the Illuminati order, an atheistic order arose during this time to set up reading societies and spread their ideology throughout Germany and other nations. And 70 years later, according to an undare call it Conspiracy by Gary Allen. In a footnote, he says that 70 years later, Karl Marx was approached by the League of Just Men to write the Communist Manifesto. But there was another order that arose out of Germany in the book Unholy Alliance by Peter Levenda, and plus numerous documentaries about World War II. Hitler establishing a new order.
In order towards the new order in Europe, is to be subject to the new order.
Two orders were rival orders that fought each other, but at the same time, we know that they made pacts with each other. For example, Hitler made a pact with Stalin to split up Poland. What happened with the other atheistic order of communism is that it infiltrated and started to take apart different nations. And now you have different ones like President Bush talking about establishing a new world order.
And that world order is only going to be enhanced if this newly activated peacekeeping function of the United Nations proves to be effective. That is the only way the new world order will be enhanced. Our success in the Gulf will shape not only the new world order we seek, but our mission here at home. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
Ezra Taft Benson gave a talk entitled Vietnam, Victory or Surrender during a BYU devotional.
He warned that those who established the United Nations were seeking to destroy the Constitution, that they were seeking to bring us under the umbrella of a one world government. George Bush comes out himself and talks about establishing the New World Order.
We have a real chance at this New World Order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Well, what is the New World Order? Ezra Taft Benson has said in his talk, it's a one world government. They're seeking to establish using the UN to police the world by building up the UN's arms and disarming America and the nation. And it's stated right in their councils, like the Council of Foreign Relations that's mentioned in the book None Dare Call Conspiracy by Gary Young, that a lot of the presidents have come out of this council, and one of the things that they want to do is do away with the Constitution and put us under a world constitution. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're seeing the fulfillment of this prophecy that's been made by Joseph Smith.
The word disarmament can be defined simply as the transfer of our national military apparatus to the control of the United Nations. In September of 1961, our State Department published the text of its proposal for disarmament as presented before the United Nations General Assembly. Entitled Freedom from War, the United States Program for General and Complete Disarmament, this proposal set down 4 objectives. Without mincing words, it advocated first that all nations, including the United States, disband their national and armed forces except for what would be earmarked for the United Nations Peace Force. Second, that all nations, including the United States, eliminate their nuclear weapons and missiles other than those required for a United Nations Peace Force. Third, that all nations, including the United States, acknowledge the United Nations authority to supervise and direct this transfer of military power. And 4, that all nations, including the United States, carry out this transfer to a point where no state would have the military power to challenge the progressively strengthened United Nations Peace Force. Most Americans find it hard to believe that our leaders in Washington would make such a fantastic proposal.
Since 1981, we've been committed to seeking fair and verifiable arms agreements that would lower the risk of war and reduce the size of nuclear arsenals. Now our determination to maintain a strong defense has influenced the Soviet Union to return to the bargaining table. Our negotiators must be able to go to that table with the united support of the American people. All of us have no greater dream than to see the day when nuclear weapons are banned from this earth forever.
Reagan said before he went into office, he promised he was not going to use the members of the CFR. And the first thing he did was hold a grand opening for the CFR.
The first person he chose was George Bush,
right,
member of the CFR.
And he's also a trilateralist.
Also a trilateralist.
And he is also a member of the Order.
The Eastern Front is saying to the Western Front, if you will just take down your defenses, we will throw away some of our weapons. However, it's very misleading in that they would do to us as they have done in Afghanistan just recently and every other country that they've ever marched over. The minute you take down your walls or your defense, they would be right there at your throats.
We must serve mankind through genuine disarmament.
Agree to sit down with the enemy, potential enemy, and talk arms reductions, which we're doing right now. We're going to be far more successful if that adversary knows that the alternative is a build-up
to a commensurate level with an unfounded.